everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, where once again I completely fucked up. I forgot to press the record button when I was recording the review, so this is my second attempt at the review. I feel very much defeated right now, but you know what? The show must go on. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're staying safe out there. Well, I suffer through my stupidity this morning, but again, thank you so much for tuning in. This week on the Rookie Feds, we're back. The documentary team is back, this time invading the world of the Feds as they tackle on their own case. And it's quite interesting to see how the Feds react to a documentary crew filming them, which I'm like, fact check, who in the Feds HR department, who in the government agreed, yeah, let's let them film a documentary on the base? Like, who even agreed to this? Like, was this even, like, I don't know. I really don't know what. But anyway, this made for a fun, entertaining episode. Actually, one of my favorite documentary episodes overall, speaking, if we're counting the Rookie side too, even though this is the first Feds one. And honestly, the premise was interesting. I'm actually surprised at how much character growth we got for Laura. Not growth and development on her front. just finding more like the humor in the relationships of our fellow Feds. But yeah, the fairly simple episode this week, really, never really too much of consequence. But yeah, let's get into it because why not? Let's go for the butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of the Rookie Feds. So we begin with them setting up the cameras at the base. For some reason, Simone is helping up with the lighting crew, setting up her light shot because she's expressing there's too much light on me. I need Vaseline to even myself out, which I'm like, I love you, Simone. I really do. So they're setting it up after they give their brief introductions about themselves, their TOs, their status as rookies, the whole team. They're ready to go about this case about the guy who had all of his blood sucked out prior to his death. And it all begins with our very own, our favorite Smithy shooting the pilot episode for his new reality show called Smithy's Streets. Okay, who in the right mindset allowed Smithy to get a camera, and who in the right mindset of Smithy himself thought that doing a reality show would work? Regardless, to say the least, he was off filming his show, where he came across a body in a mudslide, and the guy himself had two holes on the side of his neck, and he was completely drained of blood. So Smithy's obvious conclusion was, it's a vampire. And who do I know that could possibly have any sort of insight into vampire? That FBI agent I met weeks ago. So he took it up to the Feds to see if they could tackle the case. And Garza's like, you know what? Vampire stuff aside, this could be a pretty good case for the team. And so they went forward regardless of the connection. And even the documentary was like, isn't it a conflict of interest that Brendan is on the team assignment since he is a vampire? Which I'm like, who in the right mind who believed that this guy was a vampire? It's all the magic of TV. Are you blindsided? Yeah, there was a podcast that they made like, oh no, yeah, he is a vampire. There's absolutely no way he can do all these things. I'm like, bro, let's just stop playing. Let's stop playing around here. But anywho, yeah. Besides that, and also we finally got to see Vampire Cop in action. That's right, we actually got to see scenes of Brendan as the Vampire Cop with his partner, none other than played by Fast and Furious's Jordan Brewster, which I'm like, I don't even want to know how much y'all paid for her to come out for a cameo for one scene, half a scene basically. I don't even want to know how, but guess what? It was well worth it just to see the cheese in the. I'm pretty sure this was on the CW. Like if the CW was real in this world, it would be on there. No offense. I'm just getting CW vibes all around. Or E. I'll take E. Or MTV. Well, whatever the case. Yeah, so we continue onwards with that. So once we get back into it, they start speculating who the guy could be. They briefly assume this guy that lived close by to the burial site that was described to be looking like a vampire for some reason. His skin complexion, his teeth and everything. So they go in the house, they find a blood trail going up the steps, so they have enough probable cause to go inside without a warrant. They find the guy himself bleeding out, but he's passed on the bed, so they assume he's dead. He wakes up, explains the whole ordeal that I'm not a vampire, I just have a very genetic disease that caused me to look like this. I'm actually a children's book writer. I was away on a book related matter, and then that's all verified, and I'm just like, Yeah, apparently that's the thing. Yeah, that I think that disease is a real thing. So we'll keep it at that. So they're figuring out who else could it be, and the documentarian is bringing up a possible idea of maybe it's the Canyon Killer. Garza immediately shoots that down, saying that no, we caught the Canyon Killer many years ago. That case is over with. He was caught by Laura and her ex-partner, now currently sexual partner, Mark, who give their side of the case of like, yeah, this was a very well-known serial killer back in 2018. This was very well discussed, very high profiled, and yeah, so we knew that this guy had to be served to justice, and it took a while to like get a break, and eventually they catch the dude. It was a tour guide operator, and they got him. They eventually did get him, and then that was case closed for them. That was a big win for them and for their careers. And people slept soundly that night. However, the serial killer himself continues to this day to claim innocence, that, you know, this was all false. So this is a big conspiracy by the FBI to let the real serial killer out there keep doing what he's doing in secret while I'm stuck here rotting away. And he's blaming Laura and Mark for putting him away, claiming that Laura was going through like, you know, an emotional crisis. So how could she be a very well ascertained person to investigate this case? And then also he had false evidence that like, yeah, her and Mark were hooking up, so that also added credence to like they needed to find like a solution pretty quickly to the case, so they picked him. Which I'm like, dude, of all people, why you? Like, there had to be reasons for you to do, and you did do it. Just shut the fuck up and accept your fate. Just shut up. And yeah, there was truth to some of his words. Like, yeah, Laura was going for a personal dilemma, because this was around the time she found that her husband was cheating on her. So she had a big outburst in the office, and that led to her termination at the time from her former position. And while at the time, yes, Laura and Mark did not have a relationship of either dating or sexually, yeah, we obviously knew that, yeah, they're currently are in a sexual relationship, and yeah, Laura is not comfortable, ready to talk about that on camera. And then, you know, even she hasn't even talked about it to anyone else besides probably herself and Mark, maybe a little bit of Simone, but besides that, she's not ready for it. She backs out of the documentary for a little bit to take a fresh air. Mark goes after her to kind of calm her down a little bit. And the only downside to this was that Mark forgot to take his microphone off, so the camera crew heard the whole thing, and then of course they obviously, you know, tattletaled on her to the rest of the feds, which they're all like shocked, especially Brendan, who's like, my Mark and Laura are sleeping together? I had no such clue. I didn't even know this was such a thing. And Simone's like, yeah, I knew about it. I knew about it since night one. It was like, you know, Team Laura. Like, I'm gonna keep her secrets, which I'm like, I feel so sorry for Brendan. But regardless of that, moving on to the actual case of the matter. Because, yeah, Garza puts him in his place. Like, okay, forget about this conspiracy. You're just trying to drag out your documentary, add a little drama, add a little gossip, add a little suspense for editing out your clips. So guess what? Let's get back to the case itself. Shut the fuck up, and let's move on. And I love it when people put people in their places. So that was great to hear. Yeah, so picking things back up to where we left off there to the actual case. So the next logical step for them was to wait for the autopsy report to see more details about how he specifically died. However, they was unable to do so because the body was kidnapped. So once again, they assume like vampire. He resurrected as a vampire and he walked away. Now some guy just strolled him out of the morgue and then just put him in a trunk of a car. Eventually, they run the license plate. They find the guy who owns it. They find the body in his freezer chest, but he still claims like, I have an evil twin, or that wasn't my car. My car was stolen. And eventually, he started repeating certain lines, and they're like, yeah, you used that already. And he was like, shit, should have paid less for those improv classes. But yeah, so they eventually found that there was a payment tracked to him for either $5,000 or $50,000 to take the body from the mortician and then dispose of it properly, but he never got to that certain part. Yeah, so once they started to realize, like, yeah, so this guy probably has a probable connection, because, yeah, even though he touched the body, he had probably DNA residue from touching it. The other thing was that his entire body was covered in blood, which would be weird, because when they found him, he was pretty clean. So why would he have still residue of the blood? I mean, I know, like, when it comes to, like on the ground, you have to like use very special chemicals to like really clean that shit up. But when it comes to the actual the skin body, it's a little bit more easier to clean it up. So they're wondering how the heck is this still stuck on his body? So they apparently looked into it. Apparently, the guy's blood, the dead guy's blood, was found inside the lotions because, oh yeah, I forgot to mention. So, the guy who died was a up-and-coming actor, or he was trying to be an up-and-coming actor, never got a gig, just rolled around with certain, popular, cliques, popular people, just as maybe if he can get it in through that way. Never did, but his connection to the guy who actually eventually kidnapped him or took his dead body was that this guy, the dead guy, was dating the CEO of a very well-known cosmetics company, and that he disappeared 8 months before he was eventually found. And then also they found out that she also called in for a missing person report 8 months ago, but it was never resolved. It was never, something that they looked into at the time. So now clocking back into this, there's too many connections to this company. So they assume that the CEO probably did something with him, and she was just trying to cover her tracks a little bit. And the other thing to notice is that the guy had a very special blood type called RA null, which apparently Brendan knows extensively about because it was one of his season's plot lines for Vampire Cops, which made sadly Simone realize she did not actually watch Vampire Cops. She only did it to make Brendan happy, and she tried to cover her act, but it was just a hard lie. It was just like, yeah, Simone, just accept you didn't like the show and you didn't even watch it. This is cut the corners there. But despite that, so they theorized that, the blood was pretty much used for the cosmetic reason of, making the cream better, and it was the reason. So they bring in the CEO. She claims innocence, saying that why would she do that to someone she loved, and that she would never do this. Simone immediately tries to, push her into a corner to try to make her admit it, but she still holds her innocence, decides to leave to call her lawyer, and their next approach was just to get Warren to look into the activities of her business practices. Nothing was acting out of the ordinary, so they decided to hit up her private residence, where sadly at the time she was having an argument with her son, and her son killed her on the spot while Carter and Simone were literally right there. So it wasn't hard to put the pieces together. So they arrest him. They interrogate him. He admits that, he kidnapped him because he has his golden blood. This would be very useful for his cream, for his company, because his mom already signed away everything so that he could basically run the ship. And this was very much a big no-no. He was trying to keep him alive for 8 months, but eventually he just ran out of blood and died. So he had no choice but to bury the body. And the reason why he didn't do a much better job of trying to hide it is because he had no upper body strength. Which I'm like, dude, that is the most shittiest excuse in the book. And also it's forearm tricep strength, you dumbass. So anywho, they connected there, but they still need the physical evidence. They need something to prove that he did at least have the suspicion and the motive to actually go through with it. So they check in on his own private residence. They find a secret lab where he was also doing the same thing to another woman who was thankfully still alive. So they pulled her out of it. And so that was basically the end of the case. They had everything they needed to put him away, and that really was the end of the actual case itself. The company went into a really big financial status. I'm pretty sure it's on the verge of shutting down. They recalled all the lotions that they can, except a few, which are safely stored away in a unknown cup in Mid-Wilshire Station. So don't check his lockers, please. So that was the end of the case. Everything resolved. They got him put away. The body was recovered. Peace resolved, and that was kind of an end to the Fed's hopeful first documentary. Garza had enough of the documentary, decided to leave, not wanting to answer any more questions. Carter was about to start a whole freaking side stuff about Bigfoot, which I'm like, Laura put him in his place on. All's well that ends well. And once again, Mark forgot to stupidly take off his mic while he was having a private moment with Laura up in the balcony. Which again, why would you even consider kissing in a balcony that's above a camera crew? Why, you still have your mic plugged in, you dummy? Damn you, Mark. You're starting to make me hate you every time I see you. But anyway, that was it for this week's episode of The Rookie Feds. For me, I thought it was a fun episode. It was fun. The documentary episodes are always a fun, mini episodes. It's just a fun episode just to, take a step back, relax a little bit, not worry about, end of the world stuff. Not end of the world, end of the city stuff, any, crisis stuff. It was fun to see that. And just getting to see the Feds actually participate on this was, a fun avenue, seeing the different dynamics and how they would react to a documentary. Again, who in the right mind in HR decided, oh, let's do a documentary in a private FBI building? Yeah, that was probably the best idea in the world. But we'll see if they actually do a reprisal. We will see. But anyway, But it was nice to see Brendan actually go into full vampire cop mode. It was fun to see Laura actually getting a little bit more backstory in a very weird way with her romantic life and now where she is at with Mark. I love Garza so much. Like, he always puts everyone in his place. I really do. I love him. He and Gray needs to share a proper scene together. We haven't seen them together since, I think, the Backdoor pilot. So we need to see them together again. Because that would be pretty funny to see. But otherwise, yeah, fun episode all around. Nothing much to complain. It was just like, I can't believe I'm finally saying that it was a traditional fun Feds episode. And I love to say that. So with that being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this week's episode of The Rookie Feds? Let's have a conversation down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the whole full first season of The Rookie Feds. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Two, besides our Rookie Feds episode reviews, we are currently doing Walker episode reviews each and every week after burning episodes on the CW on Thursday nights. We're also doing Walker Independence episode reviews that go live every Friday mornings, and you can also get the Rookie episode reviews every Tuesday nights. But if you only care about the Rookie Feds, you're in luck. We'll be back next week with another brand new episode review, so stay tuned until then. But until then, that's going to do it for me today again. Once again, please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring the bell, and as well as follow us on social media. But until we see each other again, for all you members of the Feds out there, I'll see y'all next week. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.